Welcome back. It's another episode of From the Dish. It is your host, Mike. We're back again. It is Sunday, March 3rd, another late night show, but I enjoy these a little bit more. I ain't gonna hold you. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, whatever you're doing, I hope that you enjoy this episode. This is gonna be a fun one. We got the AL East preview going. We've already done the Central. We've already done the West. This one will tie up the AL. We'll move into the NL next week, and we'll do one every week until we finish the divisions. That leads us right into opening day. So this is a fun little preview series that we've been doing. I'm really enjoying this. Um, After this one's really gonna tell us where the playoff picture stands for the AL, at least for me, because I haven't really thought about it up until this point. But now that this is the third and final episode, and I've kind of got a big picture, this is really gonna put a lot in perspective for me. So I'm really happy about this one. I'm really excited for this one. We have the best division in baseball. I think we'll all agree with that. Every team here is about a 500 team or better. Um, Most of them are much better than 500, but let's take a look at these teams. First of all, this is episode 5. Y'all know how the show goes. First thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna look at the Pacoda standings and we're gonna see what they looking like as of today. I haven't looked at them since the last show, so I don't know what's changed. I don't know what stayed the same, but let's take a look. So no surprise who's in fifth place here. Um, I think this is the consensus fifth place team in this division. They're not very exciting right now. They haven't done much for the city of Boston, who is much more worried about the Celtics and the Bruins right now because those are actual contenders. Those are teams that may win a championship. This Red Sox team, uh, yeah. So it's not a bad team. And I think that's the thing that a lot of Boston fans got to realize here is your team doesn't suck. It's not a matter of your team sucking. The division is just a bloodbath. And I mean, that's kind of out of the Red Sox control. But what is in the Red Sox control is putting a better team on the field. And it doesn't feel like they really improved on the roster that much going into this year for real, for real. Um, we've heard the full throttle comments. We're not even going to dive into that. Um, that's kind of haunted the Red Sox, and that's kind of hung over their offseason so far. The ownership group and executives and management saying we're gonna go full throttle, and then they they didn't throttle at all, not even a little bit. So let's take a look here, man. Um, so they've got them, the Red Sox, Pacoda has them at 79.2 wins, so about a 79 win team, 80 win team. That feels look, they've been pretty solid. I ain't gonna hold you on these. I don't disagree with too many of these. We're gonna break this team down though before I give you all what my win total is. But they have them at a 1.2% chance to win the division. They do have a 16% chance to make the playoffs though. I mean, 16%, that's higher than a lot of the AL. Really? I mean, I'm just looking for any silver lining here, Red Sox fans, because I know y'all are pissed off right now. I don't really blame y'all either. Of course, the team's headlined by Rafael Devers. That's who they signed to a 10-year deal for $314 million. He's the head of the show. He's the captain. He goes into the off season, or he goes into spring training, I mean, and he says, "Look, everybody knows what we need." Verbatim. That's what he said. Everybody knows what we need. And he's disappointed. I don't blame him. The Red Sox, they didn't go out there and do much. Um, you got one of the best third basemen in MLB, Rafael Devers, hits the ball hard. He can hit fastballs. He can hit off speed, breaking. Doesn't matter. The guy's just gonna rake. But with that, you bring in the new head of baseball ops in Craig Breslow. Todd Bloom is out of there. You get a first time executive, and he's not on the same page as your superstar because while Rafael Devers is talking about, hey man, we need to be doing more. Everybody knows what we need. Craig Breslow is like, whoa, we focusing on these young guys. We're not worried about what's going on out here. Um, we're doing our own thing. We're doing a slow burn. We're, we're lowering payroll this year. These are all the sounds of a team that is retooling, and Red Sox fans don't want to hear that. In fact, Kenley Jansen doesn't want to hear that either because he's over here talking about how he's frustrated. When he signed here in year one, he knew it would be a stepping stone year, but he thought, in year two, he's thinking the team's going for it. And instead, his name is in trade rumors. The team hasn't really done much to get better. In fact, they've lost some key guys, which we'll go over momentarily here. This Red Sox team is just, they don't have the vibe right now. And then they got Netflix coming in. Netflix is going to be recording a little docu-series similar to Drive to Survive, I'm sure, or what's the other one they got? Breakpoint. I'm sure it's going to be something similar to that. So they got the cameras following them around. They got the bad juju. The vibes aren't great. Um, Yeah, just not a lot of positivity going into this season if you're a Red Sox fan. But I'm going to give you a little cause for hope. But first, we're going to start with the bad. We're going to start with the bad before we get to the good. So hang in there with me, Boston fans. Now, we all do know what you need, and what you need is pitching. This Red Sox team, last two seasons, they've been bottom 10 in virtually every important pitching statistic that you can think of. So, going out there and actually getting rid of pitching in Chris Sale, who, when we talk about the Braves in the next couple of weeks, we'll talk about that trade and how I feel about that trade, all in all. Um, but as of right now, to me, it's not looking good for the Red Sox. You get rid of him. You essentially replace him with Giolito. And Giolito, his struggles were well documented last season. He wasn't really doing anything. In fact, he gave up 41 home runs last year. Um, you know, they signed him to a 2-year deal, though. He can opt out after year one. The team can opt out after year one, if I'm not mistaken. So it's kind of like, hey, look, if it doesn't work out for either side, then you can just kind of call it quits and move on. But they get Giolito. He's a little younger than Sale. Um, he's still got some upside, I'd say. I still think Giolito isn't who he was last year when he was traded around to 3 different teams. I don't think that's the Giolito that's for real. So we're gonna see what he's gonna give us. But they didn't land Yamamoto. The Red Sox didn't. They haven't been connected to Snell. At least I haven't seen any connection to Snell. Um, they were in talks with Montgomery. They're talking about doing Zoom meetings with him, and the Zoom meetings went well or whatever. But we still don't have a deal as of right now, March 3rd. So it's just bad vibes. It's just bad vibes. They weren't aggressive enough in the pitching, and I'm almost certain that that has to do with the division just being a bloodbath, and they're just like they just don't see the reason to go for it right now. That's all I can think of. Cause why else? You know, they didn't address the pitching at all. They did bring some guys in though. I like a couple of the pickups. We already talked about Giolito, but we can kind of talk about Tyler O'Neill too. I like Tyler O'Neill. He has some injury history there. He's had foot sprains, back sprains, hammies, groins, the whole nine. They're hoping on a healthy year from him. He had a standout year in 2021. He was a 30 home run guy, 900 OPS guy. He gives you plus defense. He's good on the bases, got some speed. Um, he's got a vibe to him. I like Tyler O'Neill, but you know, it's really dependent on him really staying healthy. And while we're talking about guys staying healthy, Trevor Story is another one too. What are you going to get from Trevor Story? And I think that's the reason why they brought in Von Grisham, just because Trevor Story is such a question mark. They got Von Grisham. They got him from the Chris Sale trade with Atlanta. He gives you some depth. Grisham does, because you just don't know what's going to happen with Trevor Story. If you get the Trevor Story of old, then you got something to work with. You're cooking. But if not, then you got this young guy to bank on. He's still only 23 years old. He's got, I think, 6 years of team control, solid bat. He'll give you about 700, 750 OPS. But the issue here for Vaughn is just, where do you put him defensively? That's the biggest question mark. Because Trevor Story, they profile him to be second base, I would say, is probably the best fit for Trevor Story here in this situation. I mean, you can put him at short, you know, but you may put Grissom there, but Grissom's shown that he can't play short really either. You'd rather have him at second. He better profiles as a second baseman. So it's just a weird situation there. You got two guys who are kind of just, it's kind of shaky. But you do get Von Grisham, you get younger. He's got some upside. He's got a solid bat. If nothing else, he can project to be a platoon guy, and that's kind of a win. You get younger, that's a win. Um, but still, I'm looking at the rotation. I keep coming back to the rotation, and you got Lucas Giolito as your ace. He's your ace, and that's scary. I mean, Nick Pavetta, I don't think that's enough. You got Brian Bayo, though. He's young. He's got to take a step forward. Brian Bayo. Cutter Crawford, he's got to take a step forward. He hasn't really shown much. They have no lefties in this rotation at all. Matter of fact, they have two lefty pitchers altogether on the entire roster. So when it comes to matchups, what are they really going to do in matchup situations? Uh, I just, this Red Sox team, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. You lose Paxton. You lose Duvall. You lose Justin Turner. And matter of fact, not only do you lose Justin Turner, you lose him to the Blue Jays. And then you lose Verdugo. And you lose him to the Yankees. I mean, yeah, this is just a weird season for the Red Sox. I don't know what to expect from them. I still think that they got a young lineup with some potential. Um, you got Duran. He's probably going to be at the top of the lineup. He's got some speed. He's got some defense. Can he bring the bat along with him? We'll see. He can steal you some bags too. 20 stolen base guy. Tristan Casas. He's still a young guy. He's only 24 years old. He was a rookie of the year contender. He finished third. He's got some decent pop from that left side of the plate. He looked great last year. You got him and Devers at the corner infield. You feel good about it. Um, Wilyer Abreu, he can maybe platoon. You got him in the outfield. He profiles a little bit better for right field. You could play him in the left if you like, but you could kind of platoon him too. Um, and then Masataka Yoshida, I feel like he's kind of an X factor here. It really is Trevor's story, but Yoshida too, because Yoshida, this was someone that you brought over from the Japan League, you know, and he was supposed to come, he was supposed to bang, and he came out kind of nice, and then he kind of fizzled out once the league figured out that if you don't throw him a fastball, he's probably not going to get a hit. He really struggles with off speed, really struggles with breaking balls. So is he going to make the adjustment? And Yoshida, he isn't exactly young either. I mean, I know last year was his first year in the majors, but we're talking about a guy who's going to be 31 this year, and you still got him for a few years. So he's got to bang. You got to get him going. He's going to see a lot of plate appearances, 500, 600 plate appearances. So you got to get some production out of him. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the Red Sox. They added the CJ Cron minor league deal. I like CJ Cron. He gives you some depth. Got Michael Fulmer on a minor league deal. I mean, but what does he really bring? That adds a question mark to it. Um, they brought in Liam Hendricks on a 2-year deal, but he's recovering from Tommy John. Uh, it's just the vibes are not good here. The vibes are not well. So Red Sox fans, this is just the year that you just watch your young guys and hope they take the step forward, and try to stay out of everyone's way in the division. They were just below 500 in division play, so I I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan of this Red Sox team. The offense can be a little fun to watch, but I think they're a below 500 team this season. I really do. Coda has them at 79. I got them at about 76, 77 wins, and they're going to finish in fifth place again. I think that's 4 out of 5 years. And Red Sox Nation, they deserve a baseball team that they can watch and have fun watching. So vibes are not well there. Red Sox fans, it's going to be a long summer. On to the fourth place team in the Pacoda standings. This one was a bit of a shocker, y'all. I'm not going to lie. So, if we're going to look at the standings here, the fourth place team, according to Pacoda, is a very slim margin. Between 4 and 2, it's very slim margin. But they got the Baltimore Orioles, the team that just had the most wins in the AL last season, 101. And they got them at 86.4 wins. So 86 win team. That's a 15 game difference from last year. They think they're going to take 15 games off of their win total. Now, why is that, Pacoda? Why is that? Well, uh, I think it has a lot to do with their youth. And Pacoda doesn't project all these young guys to continue to play at the level that they've played at so early in their career, because the league's going to make adjustments. The longer you're in the league, the more film there is, the more the league going to adjust to you, the more the league knows about you. How does this young team respond? How do they respond to success? They had quick, immediate success. They were such a fun team to watch. Can they follow it up? That's the question here. Can they follow it up? Can they withstand the losses that they've taken since the last time we saw them in October? They lost Kyle Gibson. He pitched about 200 innings. They lost Aaron Hicks. He gave them a boost in the second half. He now left. I know Jack Flaherty left, but he didn't really work out for them in the first place. Fujinami, I mean, he's got to reestablish some value. They may not miss him too much unless he goes somewhere else and figures out how to use his stuff, because he's got good stuff. And they also lost DL Hall and Joey Ortiz. They lost them to the Corbin trade. Obviously you get Corbin Burns, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes here. But I mean, you lose a little depth there. You lose a little bit, and for a team that's in their minds contending for a championship, you need some depth, because over the course of 162, you're going to have to mix and match. You're going to have to swap guys in and out. That's just part of the game. Now, they went and obviously they added Corbin Burns. That's the big fish here. You get him for a year. He looks good in that Orioles orange. I'm feeling Burns in the orange. Does he come back as a bird? I don't know. They got new ownership. How aggressive are they going to be? Are they going to, because the vibes are immaculate in Baltimore. Why wouldn't Corbin want to stay in Baltimore? You know, do they have the money? Are they willing to spend the money to keep him if he hits free agency? But with some of the injuries that they faced, the Corbin Burns trade has to work right out the gate from day one. He has to be an ace from start to finish. He has to be an AL Cy Young candidate. Um, just because of the losses they've taken to the rotation with Bradish, you know, Bradish was basically your number two. Because remember, when Corbin Burns got here, Bradish wasn't hurt yet. So you thinking you got a nice 1-2 punch there, which is a nice 1-2 punch. But now he's dealing with some injuries there. So that leaves a little bit of a question mark. You lose Felix Bautista, who was um, one of the best closers in all of baseball. He got Cy Young votes last year as a closer. His ERA was 1.48. He was shutting everything down. They brought in Craig Kimbrell. They're hoping that he can replace Felix Bautista. Kimbrell's wild though, man. I mean, Felix, when Felix came in, you felt good. When Craig comes in, it's like you feel good, but you know you're gonna be on a roller coaster. You might have a heart attack before he saves the game. But they've taken some losses there. They've taken some losses. And what if Kyle Bradish needs Tommy John because he's dealing with this UCL issue? We still don't know much about this UCL issue. They're just hoping that they can give him some shots, um, and it just goes away and he's good to go. And they hope it's just like a short stint and it's nothing too extensive. Because if they lose Bradish, I mean that changes everything. It changes everything on this roster. Um, so we'll see what happens there. Um, And then another big question mark for this team is Jackson Holiday going to make the club? It looks like I mean, the way they've been marketing him, they've been kind of saying he's the future, he's this, he's that. You would assume he makes the opening day roster, but we don't know. And what if he doesn't translate to MLB? He could. He could, but what if he doesn't? You know, that's the big question mark there. Um, And then who gets the fourth outfield spot for these guys? That's another question. They had Heston Kjerstad. He was a September call up. He gives you some left hand pop. Um, he can also play first if you need him to, but he's better in right, I'd say. And then you got Colton Cowser. I like Colton Cowser. I saw him play here in Vegas for the AAA championship. They played against the Dodgers, the Oklahoma City Dodgers, and Colton Cowser hit a game-winning grand slam over the batter's eye, and he won. He won the MVP of that game, and it was a really exciting game, and that was me really seeing his coming out party. But that was a AAA championship game. When he was in MLB, he struggled. Granted, I mean he didn't play that many games, but his struggles led to him going back to the minor leagues, and that's what got him to the championship game in the first place. Um, so who gets that fourth and final outfield spot there, right? Because you got Santander there. He's been around for a while. He's a leader in that clubhouse. You got Mullins in center. He's been around for a while. He's a leader in that clubhouse. And then you got Austin Hayes, who's pretty much established himself um, in this Orioles lineup, and he's also been around for a while now too. So who fills in that fourth spot? Do you do Jorge Mateo, or you'd rather keep him on the infield, right? Um, so they've got a fourth infield spot there that they can utilize, and I think that's going to be a fun storyline this spring. But other than that, another question for the Orioles is just how aggressive are they going to be this year? Because this is their window. They've arrived. They're here. They're feeling themselves, and they're as good as anyone in the AL. So what do they do with the deadline this year? Do they make a splash? They made a splash, before spring training, but do they make another splash at the deadline? Because last year they didn't do anything really. Um, and how will they pivot if they hit a crossroads? What if they're not having a strong season? It's the deadline, and they're trying to figure out which way to go. What will they do? Will they sacrifice some of their prospects so they can make a playoff push? Because now the narrative with the Diamondbacks going to the World Series, the narrative now is just get in. I mean, that's always been the narrative, but now that the Diamondbacks are the real standout narrative. That's what everyone's saying now. Oh, just get in, just get in, just get in. Look at the Diamondbacks, just get in, right? So this is an interesting team. This is one of the most fun teams that I watch throughout the season. I've been following them for about the last 2 years now. They're just a blast. They seem to come back in every game. That's hard to sustain as well. So very fun team, very young team, and Brandon Hyde, hell of a manager. You love to see it. They've got a good lineup. It's balanced. They play defense, good pitching. Um, Bullpen, they got Cano there. They got Perez. Can Dylan Tate return to form? This is a fun team. This is a fun team. I do think they take a step back as well, Pacoda. I'm right there with you, Pacoda. But I still think this is a 90-win team. This feels like a 90-win team. And you're not going to tell me otherwise. I know they've lost a lot in terms of players, but I still really like this style of baseball, and I really like what they got going on here. So I think they're going to win more than 90 games. Pacoda's got them. Let me go back. Pacoda's got them at 86. I've got them right at 90. So fun team, and we'll see what happens. Now, on to our third place team, who is only 0.6 of a win better according to the Pacoda standings. They've got the Tampa Bay Rays at 87 wins, 0.6 more than the Baltimore Orioles. So they're basically saying it's a coin toss. They've got Tampa at 58.1 playoff odds, and they've got Baltimore 54.7 playoff odds. So they're saying a bounce here, a bounce there, and we're having a completely different conversation, right? So I kind of feel the same way. Tampa, I'm not doubting Tampa. That's the narrative I'm running with here. That you just don't doubt Tampa. They've just got something going on there, and they know it because uh, they extended their president of baseball ops in Eric Neander. They brought back Kevin Cash. No brainers. Why wouldn't you? Two of the best in the game. Um, so, of course, they operated this offseason. Business as usual. They traded an impending free agent in Tyler Glass now. Sent him to the Dodgers. We all know that now. They traded Andrew Kittredge. He was going to be a free agent. They said, yeah, you got to go. Uh, they traded Luke Raley. I mean, he wasn't an impending free agent, but he hasn't really reached his potential. Still got some, but he's you can send him away and you'll be okay, which the Rays did. And then you get you get rid of Manuel Margot. He was in the Glass Now trade. He brought back Ryan Pepio and Johnny DeLuca. And then, you trade Vidal Brujan. He hasn't really reached his ceiling either. So maybe the Rays know something we don't. And that's just my motto with the Rays. They just know something. I don't know what type of lab they have there. I don't know what their analytics department is doing. I just there's a method to their madness, and they just continue to win year in and year out despite any losses. But the losses are the losses. But they did add some guys in Ryan Pepio and Johnny DeLuca. I think those two trades will work out well for them. They still have a strong lineup. They added Ahmed Rosario to it. He's still only 28 years old. He can platoon. You got Brandon and Josh. One is low, one is low. I can never remember. Uh, do your research before you podcast. That's the tip here. But they got Brandon, they got Josh. Josh had a breakout season. He can play all three outfield positions. And then you still got Yandy Diaz at the top of the lineup. He's one of the best first basemen. He received some MVP votes. Randy Arozarena, he's one of the most electric players in the game. And you got Paredes. He broke out last year, and you're hoping that he can repeat that if you're the Rays or a Rays fan. And having Johnny DeLuca and Rosario on the bench, that's pretty solid. This is a and this is a young team for the most part. You got guys that are all 25 to 29 years old, and this is pretty much what the Rays do. This is what they do. They've had some turnover in their pitching staff. I don't know how much it'll matter because again, they're the Rays. Um, but they lost three key guys in Jeffrey Springs, Drew Rasmussen, and Shane McClanahan. They lost all three of those guys. Those guys were pivotal to this team's success. They're not coming back anytime soon. It doesn't feel like. Um, so how do you replace that? How do you replace that? Because at this point now, the Rays, they're banking on potential here. They're looking at Pepio. They're like, look, you got to take a step forward this year. They're looking at Taj Bradley. This is a young guy. He's going to be their fifth starter, but if he comes and he's a solid addition, you got a solid five at that point because you got Zach Eflin and Aaron Savali at the top of it. They're going to do what they do. Um, and then you got Zach Littell, who probably should be better in 2024. I would say he projects to be better, and then you got help on the way because you got Junior Caminero, consensus top five prospect. This guy's fun to watch. He's really fun to watch. His check these stats out. Check these stats out, guys. So this is in the minor leagues, but still fun. He had a 591 slugging percentage. That ranked fifth for all qualifiers in minor leagues. He had a 324 average. That ranked 11th in all of the minor leagues. He doesn't walk a ton, but he's got good bat to ball skills, puts the ball in play, smacks the ball around, and he can hold his own defensively. He's a fun guy. So the question is, does he come up this year? Does he help you out a little bit? I mean, they brought in Rosario, but maybe you can still use a little more infield help with Junior Caminero coming up. He gives you some depth. Um, and that's a fun guy to watch. And then you got Curtis Mead, another fun guy to watch. Um, so yeah, the Rays, it seems like their factory's just pumping guys out, and they're young and they're projected to win a lot. Uh, so I mean, there's not really much else to say about the Rays. This is how the Rays operate. This is their roster. Their lineup is still very strong. Their 1 through 5, I would say, is that's pretty scary to face. Um, so this is a good team. I think the Orioles are a little better than them. Not gonna lie. So if you're asking me, Pacoda, I would probably swap these two teams. But again, we're talking about point 0.6 of a win according to Pacoda. Um, I had the Orioles at a 90 win team. I don't think the Rays are quite a 90 win team, but they'll be in that realm. They'll be around a 87 feels right. 87 feels right. So I'm spot on. I'm right there with Pacoda on the Rays. Don't be surprised if they go and they win some more. Um, but yeah, that's the Tampa Bay Rays for 2024. Now, hear me out, Toronto fans. Hear me out. I know you're frustrated. I know you're not excited. I know you're probably done with the Jays right now. But listen. Blue Jays fans, it's okay. Your team is still very good. In fact, Pacoda has them second in the best division in baseball. They got them a 67.2 playoff percentage, uh, about a 50% wild card shot. So you're going to the playoffs. If you're a Blue Jays fan, you should at least feel good because you're going to the playoffs. Unless you just collapse, which I doubt. This is a team that it's choosing to run it back, oddly enough. They feel like last year was a fluke. That's coming straight out of Ross Atkins' mouth. That's the message from the front office. They're saying run it back. Let's be patient. This team is better than the results showed in 2023. And they're relying on that. They're relying on bounce backs from a lot of key guys, most notably Vlad Guerrero Jr. But the question here is, did they do enough? Ross, did you do enough, general manager? You lost Matt Chapman in his gold glove, platinum glove defense. You lost Brandon Belt, who's a veteran presence. He's won some championships. He was reliable for them. You lost Whit Merrifield. I mean, you declined his mutual option, but he's not back. You lost Jordan Hicks. He was good in high leverage situations. He can be a little wild. We all know that he's a flamethrower, exciting guy to watch. Still young. Feels like he's been around for a while, but he's still young. And he was reliable for them, even with his wildness. You know, it's kind of like a younger, better version of Craig Kimbrell, right? Like he's gonna give you a heart attack, but you know that he's gonna get out of it. They lost Adam Simber. He was uncharacteristically um, pitching poorly. You lost Hyunjin Ryu. He went to the KBO, got the largest contract in KBO history. As a 36-year-old, he got an 8-year deal. But anywho, and then you also lost Kevin Kiermaier, and you're like, you know what, Kevin Kiermaier, we love you and your defense so much. Run it back. And speaking of running it back, that's pretty much what this team is doing. Because if we're talking about additions, they didn't really add anyone. They added Justin Turner. I think that helps them a lot. I really like that pickup. That is exactly what they need. They need some pop. They could have used a left-hander. It's almost like there's a left-hand bat that was on the market before he signed with the Cubs, but you know. And then the guy Gabriel Rodriguez on the pitching side, he can add to that pitching staff that's one of the best in baseball. He has some upside. He gives you some depth. Only thing that really scares you about him is he has no major league experience. I mean, he pitched in the WBC. He looked great in the WBC too. Well, you know, if you want to use that as a barometer of success. But outside of that, I mean, yeah, the Blue Jays didn't really do much. They were in the Shohei sweepstakes. They feel like it was real interest. They don't feel as if he was just using them as leverage. Um, that was a funny night on Twitter when when everyone traced the airplane that was going to Toronto and they thought that it was Shohei Ohtani, but it ended up being bro off Shark Tank. Can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. Uh, but yeah, that was fun. Not for Blue Jays fans, but for baseball fans, that was fun. And they added Isaiah Canner-Falefa. He kind of replaces Whit Merrifield. They're exactly the same kind of player, though. Um, IKF is younger. I think Whit's bat to ball skills is a little better. I think he gets you a little closer to at least average offense. IKF doesn't really give you average offense, but he gives you versatility on the infield, you know. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much all the Blue Jays did. So why should you get excited if you're a Blue Jays fan? The last 2 years, the team has fallen short, especially last year, losing to they lost to the Twins. They lost to the Twins, right? Um, so that's disappointing for the Blue Jays. They feel as if they're better than the Twins. You know, the Twins they hadn't won a playoff series in 20 years up till that point. So if you're a Blue Jays fan, you're not too excited this year. But I'm gonna tell you this, Blue Jays fans, you still have a really good team. You still have a really good team here. Um, I'm looking at you guys now. You guys got which prospects are gonna come in, right? Because you guys still got George Springer, you got Bo Bichette, you got George Springer, you got you got all these guys, good names if you're looking at paper. So now it's time to look at the prospects and be like, okay, well, who's gonna come up and help us? Because at this point, you just have to kind of add around the edges a little bit. So if you're looking at the prospects, uh, the most immediate help is gonna come from Ricky Tiedemann, who is a pitcher, which gives your pitching even more of an advantage. So you're making a strength even stronger if you're a Blue Jays fan here, and I think that's something to be excited about. Ricky Tiedemann, he's got a great fastball. Is he gonna grab a spot? What's Alec Manoa gonna do? He's kind of an X factor here too. What's he gonna do? He had a disastrous 2023. He went down to the Florida complex and was playing ball there. I can't remember the name of the league off the top of my head, but they sent him like all the way down. Um he came in this season, he's feel like he's got some revenge on his mind, but then he hits three batters in his first spring training start. So it's like, what are you gonna get from Alec? Alec's gotta I mean, he rounds out this rotation beautifully. If you can get him as your five to pair with Gosman, Barrios, Bassett, Kikuchi's a solid four. Manoa can be a solid four. Ricky Tiedemann, he comes in, he can be solid. You got some guys. You got some guys. And then you got this other prospect, top 100, or Relvis Martinez. Is he going to make an impact this year? He's got a spring training in Mike. He wants a spot on the team. But it's like, where do you place him defensively? That's the question with him. But, you know, this is a fun team. You still got guys. Bo Bichette, Kevin Biggio, Alejandro Kirk. You got Dalton Varsho in the outfield. Kevin Kiermaier, excellent defense. He's got some speed still. You have one of the best rotations in baseball. And you have to feel as if you're going to be better with runners in scoring position, right? There's no way that you don't get better with runners in scoring position this year if you're the Blue Jays, because that was their Achilles heel last year. I think if they just hit with some guys on, look, you flip some of those losses, and we're looking at a completely different team. So I like the Jays. I think they're a really good team. They're depending a lot on bounce backs here. Um, Justin Turner's an X factor too, because he's another year older. He's gonna be 40. So you wonder how long he's going to keep going. But overall, I think this is a solid team. This is a really solid team. Even the bullpen, Jordan Romano's still back there saving games. You still got Trevor Richards. You added Chad Green, Tim Meza. I like this Blue Jays team. The question here for the Blue Jays now, how many wins will the Blue Jays get? That's the question. Pacoda, let's go back to Pacoda here. Let me tab over. Dakota's got they've got Toronto at 88 and a half, so about 89 wins. Again, they have the Rays at 87 and they have the Orioles at 86 and they got Toronto at 88. So that tells you all you need to know about this division and how tightly contested this division really is. Because we're talking about 3 wins from the middle of the teams here. That's crazy. That like these projections are wild. But if I'm a Blue Jays fan, I feel good about my team. I feel as if we're going to the playoffs. I feel like we're going to add at the deadline. And I feel really good about a playoff push. As long as the bats just don't go quiet like they did last year. Um, I think this is also a 90 win team. I can see them at about they won 92 last year. I think they stay even. And I know this sounds crazy because I'm over here saying that they can take a step forward, but the win total will still be the same. But yeah, I think this is about a 92, 93 win team. They weren't bad last year. They won 92 games and didn't look great. So who's to say they're not going to win some more, right? So I do like the Blue Jays being second here. I'm not gonna lie. Um, and I like Baltimore third, Tampa fourth, Boston fifth. So obviously that leaves one team left, and that is the New York Yankees. The New York Yankees. Look, they have a chance to be the best team in the AL here. The Yankees do. They have a chance to be the best team in the AL and one of the best teams in all of baseball, truthfully. Um, I just can't say enough about this roster, about this lineup in particular. Um, with Juan Soto in it, you put Juan Soto in this lineup, and it's just gross, bro. But with the addition of Juan Soto, I don't think he's the X factor here. I ain't gonna hold you. I don't think he's the X factor. I think the X factor is Anthony Rizzo. That's the X factor here. If you can get him to slot in, you know, and protect Aaron Judge, then you get a really, really nasty lineup. Um, Obviously, they brought in Alex Verdugo. You still got Glaber. You still got Giancarlo. And oh, yeah, you got Anthony Volpe, who I think is going to take a step forward. You got Austin Wells behind the dish, who also is a young guy who's expected to come in and do some good things here in New York. So I mean, you put Anthony Rizzo behind Judge and Judge behind Soto, and that's just disgusting. Because obviously Anthony Rizzo had those concussion issues. He wasn't the player that we've known him to be. So in this spring, he's looking good. This spring, he's looking like he's got the concussion issue behind him. And this is a big year for Rizzo too. This is a big year for him because he's got a club option in 2025. So he's gonna go out there and he's gonna play hard because he wants the Yankees to pick up his option and he wants to stay a Yankee, I'm sure. And you know what? I'm sure the Yankees would love to keep Rizzo as a Yankee too. So for both sides, I think this resurgence of Rizzo is huge. So I think he's an X factor, and Giancarlo staying healthy, that's an X factor too. Because you can have a 30 home run guy as your sixth or seventh hitter, fifth, sixth, seventh hitter. I mean, yeah, it- there's just not much else to say about this lineup. This lineup is lethal, and they've got balance. They've got lefties now. They addressed their whole too many right-handed batters in the lineup thing because they got Soto, they got Verdugo, and Trent Grisham's kind of forgotten here. And I think that's actually good for Trent because this just gives him an opportunity to go out there and just play his game. He gives you strong defense at center. Um, the bat it leaves a little more to be desired, but now that he's not a focal point, he's a platoon guy. He can do some things. He can maybe gel with this team. This is a fun team. Balanced lineup, power, stars. Boone is as fun as a manager as there is in a game. Um, yeah, this Yankees team, they they're the opposite of the Red Sox. I said the Red Sox didn't have the vibes. The Yankees got the vibes. And Juan Soto is such a perfect fit for this New York team. They need to just sign him now. I know with him being a Boris guy, he's going to test free agency, but the Yankees need to just bring Soto back right now. There's nothing else to discuss. He's tearing it up this spring as well. I know for Juan Soto spring doesn't matter at this point. We know what he's capable of. He's one of the 10 best players in the game. But yeah, man, that this is a fun lineup. But you got to look at the pitching too. You got to look at the pitching. Um, they lost a lot of guys here. They lost Severino, Middleton, Cordero. They lost Montes, German, and they also lost Michael King, which I think they of all those guys, they may miss Michael King the most. Uh, I know that's a crazy thing to say, but they might miss him the most. He was kind of like their hybrid guy. Um, how do they replace him? Do they replace him with Will Warren? They've got him cooking in the minor leagues. He's ready to take a step, you would think. He's what is he? He's 24 years old, right around there. He got a spring training invite. He's gonna want to make the team. Can he fill in the Michael King role? Can Loizaga, can he take a step forward and fill in the Michael King role? Can Victor Gonzalez? They got him from the Dodgers. Can he fill in the Michael King role? You need to get your Michael King back. And then, I mean, after that, the bullpen is, in typical Yankees fashion, a really good bullpen as well. You still got Clay Holmes closing things out. You still got Tommy Cantley in there. Caleb Ferguson came over from LA as well. He's solid. He's got a track record. Uh, it kind of makes you forget about Jason Dominguez and his Tommy John surgery that he got, and that he's gonna miss all of 2024. Because this team is so exciting. They got so much balance, so many guys. Um, I really like this Yankees team, and that's pretty uncommon for me. But yeah, I'm rooting for the Yankees this year because I just think it's good for ball. So yeah, Yankees. That's pretty much it here on the Yankees. And Pacoda's got them at 94.2 wins. That's got them right there with Houston. Pacoda's got Houston at 94.6, New York at 94.2. I think that's accurate. This Yankees team, if everything goes perfect, they can win 100 games. I don't see why not. If Carlos Rodon stays healthy, if Nestor Cortez stays healthy, if Giancarlo Stanton stays healthy, if DJ LeMahieu stays healthy, if Anthony Rizzo stays healthy, if Aaron Judge doesn't have another freak accident and he stays healthy, I mean, yeah, yeah. With this team, it's just all about October at this point, and I'm sure they're going to remain active throughout the season. They're the Yankees; they're going to get some guys at the deadline. Um, and at this point, it's just all about October for the Yankees. And can you overcome the Houston Astros? Are you better than the Astros? That's what it really comes down to. Because that's the only thing in your way, really. And I know the Rangers just won the World Series too, but they don't really have much history playing one another. The Astros, for the Yankees to finally overcome the Astros would be triumphant, and it would be the exclamation mark to this team. And I don't see why they wouldn't go to the World Series at that point. Pacoda's got them with a 10.5% chance. Hey, look, I really like this Yankees team. So that'll do it for the Yankees, and that'll do it for this episode. Um, as always, I appreciate you all. Next week, we move into the NL. We got the full AL picture. Uh, Next week, we're going to be starting with the NL. We're going to get started in another division that's pretty competitive, in a weird way, though, but it's still competitive. And a lot of movement there, a surprise team at the top. We're going to talk all about it next week on From the Dish. For now, I appreciate you guys, and we're going to catch y'all on the next one. Peace.